His family was left with only one clue about where he could be. His last pinged location. His cell phone picked up near a house in the town of Kinbridge, 60 miles away from his Henrico home. Family says they begged police to search the house, but that never happened. And it was 1 week after his disappearance when Sion's body was found. The medical examiner said he'd been shot, dismembered, covered in lye, then covered in lye, then put into a shallow grave in Lunenburg County.
But it didn't have service. But it was my oldest son's old iPhone. And he did find my iPhone, and the phone pinged where it pinged to. I went there, nobody saw him, and then I started to receive messages stating that it was a tier 3 sex offender that lived at the home. So it's really awkward. So when I went there that Friday evening, they told me that he wouldn't have a reason to be down there. They don't know him.
Police came up then and told him they had to leave the property.
It was about 6 days after we assembled in Lunenburg with the search party, which was actually election day.
We began to walk down to the Poorhouse Road location. In the midst of us walking, we were stopped by an officer that was driving a Dodge Charger, a gray one, and he introduced himself as Officer Barnes. And I asked him, he asked me, did I need any help? I said, well, you can help us look for Sion. So he told me that to come closer to his vehicle, and he said, I've been looking for Sion all day. Come closer, come take a look. When I approached the car, I seen like brush and dirt and maybe some leaves on his lap, and he kind of gave it a little brush like, yeah, I've been looking for him. So me looking at him like, well, we're walking and we don't look like that, so how do you get brush and leaves and dirt on your lap in a car?
Actually happened.
They said he left a note and said that he was going in the woods and go to sleep to protect his mom and dad. That's what they said was on the note, but I don't know for sure.
And if that's possible, I don't believe that he willingly committed suicide.
Man, what's going on in Mississippi, man? In today's time, people's coming up hung in Mississippi. I mean, people that ain't even from. There's a brother, James Keon Cooper, young brother from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Went down there to change his life, whatever he went down there for. He ended up losing his life shortly after going down to Mississippi. They found him hung down there. It's unheard of. There's been a lot of brothers in today's time, and then just recently they found a mass grave behind a jail in Mississippi. One of the bodies they found last year sometime, it was a lady. She reported her son missing. He was in his 30s, older. He left the home last time his mother seen him. Then she put a missing person report in, something like that. And they ended up contacting her several months later after they already had buried her son, but they buried him behind the jail in an unmarked grave. Well, just recently, within the last few days, they found hundreds of unmarked graves.
In Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi to be exact. It's been revealed 215 bodies were buried in unmarked graves behind a state jail in Jackson, of course. Attorney Ben Crump is now calling for an investigation. Families of the dead reportedly had no idea until last month. Some of them, those grave sites were only labeled by a number and a metal rod. Joining us to talk about it, activist Arthur Silky Slim Reed, who also works with Ben Crump.
So, Arthur, this started with Dexter Wade's case back in March, right? He was an individual who was hit by a police officer, and his family thought he was simply missing, but he was dead and buried, and no one notified them.
Well, the thing about it is that he had identification on him, Isaiah, and the medical examiner gave it to the lead detective, who said he called, didn't get
demanding answers and accountability after a series of bizarre events surrounding the death of a father of two. Now, this all started back in March when Dexter Wade was hit by a police cruiser in Jackson, Mississippi as he was crossing a highway. That was on March 5th. Police claimed he had no identification. he was killed, and so he was buried in a pauper's cemetery. But the county coroner had reportedly identified him based on a prescription bottle he was carrying at the time of his death. And even though Wade's mother reported him missing on the 14th, it took 6 months for police to tell her that her son was dead. Now, this story doesn't end there. When Wade's body was exhumed just this week, attorneys for the family claim he was carrying his state ID card, a credit card, an insurance card, all of that inside his wallet, leading to more questions of why his family wasn't notified until months after his death and burial. And worse yet, they say his body was not embalmed, so it was severely decomposed. Now, Jackson's mayor says the city's failure to notify the family was because of a simple miscommunication. But Wade's mother believes it's part of a cover-up, and now the family is asking the Department of Justice to investigate.
After a North Mississippi man was found hanging from a tree in Chickasaw County. The deputy coroner, Eric Smith, says someone found the body of Gerald Guillotine Jr. Thursday afternoon. The police chief, Tommy Ivy, says that Guillotine's body was found along Laster Drive in Okolona. Guillotine's body is on its way to Pearl for an autopsy.
That day he was happier than I ever seen him in my life. And he was talking about doing some work to the house that we had up there where he was living in. I told him, go ahead, help yourself. And that was the last time I talked to him.
It was confirmed to be Otis Bird. The state.
Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of people came up missing recently in today's time in Mississippi. Show a video at the end from this girl that came up missing, and she gave a thorough report before she came up missing that she was being chased down. And it's audio of that from the 911 dispatch. She was a younger white girl, so whatever happened with that was probably put in separately than what's been happening with the young blacks out there. Or they're all ages, don't even matter. But a lot of younger blacks. And ain't nobody saying nothing. The old down south rappers ain't saying nothing about no brothers being hung in Mississippi in today's time. That's a problem.
In the dense woods of the Rock Hill area, Thompson called 911 for help. For 22 minutes, she was in a state of panic, saying someone was chasing her but didn't know who. In the midst of talking to the dispatcher, her phone died. That was the last time someone ever heard from her.
Thompson went missing in the Rock Hill area of Panola County on January 10th, 2019.
And unwanted answers finally began to arrive this summer. After a work crew found human skeletal remains, they were sent for testing, and after DNA extraction,
we are now able to announce that a positive identification has been made of the skeletal remains recovered in Panola County this past July.
Lauren's father, Gregory Colvin, says the family is still waiting for final answers, but expresses his appreciation in a statement saying, "Our family would like to reiterate our deepest gratitude for the love and intercessory prayer and support demonstrated by many in bringing Lauren home.
Our office will be diligent on pursuing all relevant..."
Sheriffs and some goons out there, straight up. They just murking people off. Yeah, it's apparent that something's going on with the local sheriff department. You know, where there's smoke, there's fire.
We heard a lot from you about our report last month on a man killed in Mississippi by a police officer, then buried without his family ever being notified. Now we learned a similar situation happened to another man. Here's Blaine Alexander.
For Mercedes Onachukwu, her big brother Mario Moore was one of a kind.
He was full of wisdom and charm, and he just had a personality that you did not forget easily.
His life wasn't easy. He'd spent years fighting a drug habit and could disappear for months at a time, but he would always come home. Until last month, when their sister, Marquita Moore, saw an article from NBC affiliate WLBT about homicides there in Jackson, Mississippi that had gone unreported. Mario's name was second on the list.
I just broke down. I felt just weak. And I couldn't do anything else.
According to the coroner's report, Moore was killed by blunt force trauma to the head. His body was found on the street wrapped in a tarp 8 months before his family ever knew. Then the second shock. Mario had already been buried in a pauper's grave behind the county jail.
We do not have a grave number. We don't have anything other than the coroner saying I buried his body in an undisclosed location.
For his mother, Mary Moore Glenn, the grief is unspeakable.
They put them in a bag and they just dump them in a grave like they're a dog or something.